Assalamualaikum and hi. My name is Hana Fitra binti Rizahad, a student major in International Business Management, and my metric number is 306935. Today, I will be evaluating the 2024 oil spill incident in Singapore. Before we begin, let me ask you this. Have you ever wondered how one small failure at sea can trigger a global maritime issues? Today, I want to bring you into a real event, one that unfolded quietly at first, but quickly became Singapore's largest oil spill in a decade. A story of mechanical failure, environmental consequence, and the lessons we carry forward in maritime safety. Our story begins on the afternoon of June 14, 2024. At around 2:18 p.m., the Netherlands flag dragger Watts Maxima was moving near the Pasir Panjang terminal. Everything seems as usual, until something went wrong, terribly wrong. Without warning, the vessel lost its engine and steering control. According to the Maritime and Ports Authority reports, the crew realized they had suddenly lost its power. They attempted to deploy the anchors, but the mechanism was stuck, affected by hydraulic and electrical issues. In those crucial seconds, the ship became a massive, powerless body drifting towards the danger. Unable to stop its momentum, the Watts Maxima collided into a stationary Singapore flag called bunker vessel the Marine Honor. The impact fractured one of the Marine Honor cargo tanks, and in moments, 400 tons of low-sulfur fuel oil spilled into the surrounding waters. What happened next was felt far beyond the terminal. Thick black oil began to drift outward, carried by tides and currents. Very quickly, the spill reached Singapore's southern coastline. Beaches at East Coast Park, Labrador Nature Reserve, Keppel Bay, the Southern Islands, and even Sentosa became affected. Tourists were turned away. Families hoping for a weekend picnic found beaches closed, and beneath the waterline, something even more heartbreaking was happening. Marine creatures like fish, plankton, otters, seabirds were suddenly fighting for survival. The oil slick formed a suffocating layer on the water's surface, blocking oxygen exchange and coating anything that came into contact with it. Mangroves on St. John's Island became blackened, their roots withered. These were not short-term effects. They all seeped into sediments, strengthening long-term regrowth and ecosystem recovery. This was not just an environmental incident. It became a social and operational crisis. Recreational areas were shut down, tourism slowed, and government agencies faced enormous pressure to respond quickly and effectively. So, let me continue with the impacts of the issue. There are severe environmental damage, which is the spill released 400 tons of bunker oil. It's contaminating vital ecological zones, including East Coast Park, Labrador Nature Reserve, Keppel Bay, the Southern Island, and Sentosa. Because the oil formed a thick slick on the water surface, it smoothed marine life and blocked oxygen exchange, disrupting the entire food chain from microscopic plankton to the fish, seabirds, and otters. Wildlife suffered toxic exposure, coating of feeders and fur, reproductive impairments, and long-term habitat degradation. Cleanup efforts stretched over 2 months, especially in intertidal zones where oil lingered between rocks and sediments. This mirrors environmental impacts seen in the Deep Horizon spill in 2010, where nearly 4.9 million of barrels of oil entered the Gulf of Mexico, killing thousands of dolphins, turtles, and seabirds, and leaving long-lasting contamination in wetlands and coastal sediments. Both incidents show how even a single spill can damage ecosystem for years. Next is social and operational disruptions. Several beaches and recreational areas had to be closed to the public, interrupting weekend activities, local tourism, and business operations. Government agencies and NGOs face high operational pressure due to the wildlife rescue, water testing, and environmental monitoring. Because of the widespread closure, communities experienced reduced recreation and tourism revenue, while public concern grew regarding the environmental safety and port operations. A similar pattern occurred during the Deep Horizon disaster, where coastal communities in Louisiana, Florida, Mississippi, and Alabama saw major tourism declines, fishing bans, and widespread loss of income. These global examples reinforce how oil spills can create not only environmental damage but also significant social, economic, and operational burdens on affected regions. Very soon, massive multi-agency operation began. The Maritime and Port Authority, which is MPA, NEA, and Ports, and the Seas and the Sentosa Development Corporation, they mobilized over 700 personnel. More than 3,400 meters of floating booms were deployed. Skimmers, current buster devices, and rapid shoreline cleaning teams worked for weeks. By June 20, most visible oil had been contained, but the cleanup did not end there. Hidden pockets of oil trapped between the rock, sands, and bonds required more than 2 months of work to remove. This quiet, tedious stage of recovery was just as important as the initial emergency response. As investigations progressed, the story deepened. It wasn't just a mechanical failure, it was also a human and procedural failure. Reports has found that advanced maxima circuit breakers had been opened during maintenance checks. Crew handover procedures were weak. There was no proper task recording system. This seemingly small operation gaps contribute to the power loss and delayed reaction during the emergency. In other words, this disaster wasn't caused by a single mistake. It was the result of a chain of small oversights, each one stalking onto the next. But every disaster teaches something, and this one offered two major lessons. The first one is the enhanced vessel safety protocols. If ships operating in high-traffic ports and had mandatory real-time monitoring systems for engine and steering functions, emergencies like this could be detected earlier. Automated alerts could warn the bridge in seconds when power levels drop. Combined with the proper crew training and strict pre-departure checks, the risk of catastrophic failure could decrease it significantly. In fact, post-incident simulation by MPA showed that early detections could reduce collision risk by up to 30%. The second solution is that we need to advance oil contaminating deployment. This incident proved the importance of fast containment. Strategic placement of floating booms and skimmers around high-risk terminals and biodiversity zones could contain spills immediately, long before they reach public beaches. We saw this during the cleanup at the Sentosa. Rapid booms installation at Palawan and Silosos beaches trapped oil in the lagoons and prevented it from entering the wider sea. So, what is the key lessons that we have learned? The 2024 Singapore oil spill taught us that maritime safety is not one-dimensional. It requires a balance of reliable machinery, strict human procedures, real-time technologies, and emergency readiness. A single vessel loss of control escalated into 400-ton environmental emergency, not because of one mistake, but because of systems that weren't working together. And finally, I want to reflect on why this matters to our future roles, whether we enter logistic maritime management or any field connected to supply chains. These incidents can remind us that resilient systems don't happen by the accident. We must advocate for integrated safety ecosystem, for proactive risk analysis, and for rapid response capabilities in busy ports like Singapore. Before studying this incident, many might have seen oil spills as unfortunately accidents. But now, we understand that they are often preventable, avoidable outcomes of systematic gaps. This shift in perspective pushes us to think differently, to design a safer infrastructure, to enforce stricter protocols, and to prioritize environmental protection in every operational decision. The story of 2024 oil spill is a warning, but also a guide, a reminder that in the world of maritime operations, every boat, every checklist, and every second is truly matters. All of this information is referred from the Straits Times, Channel News Asia, CNN, and MPA, and is supported by ChatGPT in helping the structure of the sentence. Additional information from the Ministry of Sustainability and the Environment and Science Direct, supported by the Perplexity. It helps me to conduct a research of this story.